Okay, here's a nice shot of the side of the house. A little cabin there. Back across the property. And there's the studio. We're going to go behind the studio. Okay, we're behind the studio now. That's the garage door leading into the back studio. And this is the side of the studio with the dirt wall, and then again up above that another slope. So the water coming right down through here and in areas like this, it's ponding and becoming stagnant. And you can see it comes right up to the back door here at times. It is quite bad. Okay, here we are at the back door of the studio. And what I want to show you is that this right here is solid water leading right down to the back of the studio and then ponding by the door in stagnation. This can't be. And all of this water here is coming from back behind the studio all the way up along that wall to that stand of marsh grass there. And we're going to go back there now. That white protrusion right in the middle of the frame is the drain. We'll see that in a minute. Okay, on the way back to the property, you can see at the base of that hill that it's ponding here and stagnating right by this marsh grass. And that's where all the problem begins, right along that line there. Here, I'll show you. Okay, here we are at the base of that marsh grass. This is all invasive species. This all has to come out of here. And if you listen, you can hear the water running in the background. That's a lot of water. And you can see it's ponding all around this area here. And it's running swiftly down this culvert down to the drain. Let's go down to the drain. Alright, there's the drain. You can see that's a healthy flow of water going down there. And this is the path of it here, right down through the center of the property and down that drain. Okay, this is our property as well, and that is the water coming from the other side of that drain, coming down a very healthy creek, brook here, and it goes down into what is the rest of our property facing McGregor. As you can see, that's a pretty handsome creek right there. If it was maintained just a little bit, well, that's a really nice flow of water and a great resource. We should have this on our property. One thing to notice, that here, where the creek has been allowed to be maintained, it doesn't go up on the banks. The banks here are dry, other than the rainwater, so it's really effective as far as directing the water to the right place and allowing nature to do her work. Okay, now we're back up on the plateau behind the house and the studio. You can see them there in the distance. Now I'm just going to show you what the land is like around here. Right now where I'm walking, it's fairly dry. But as I get back here, what you see is that the water is beginning to pool up pretty excessively. And it's quite deep here. I'd say a half an inch. And then over here, as you see, is pulling in all these areas, all the way up to that marsh grass. As you can see here, the water is moving. It's moving into the directions we don't want it to go, but it's all moving. And this is true throughout this entire area here, is that the water is moving downhill. All it needs to be done is for it to be directed. Open this area up, take out the invasive species that are along the shore here, allow the water to pool again and be directed right down this creek bed, which will become a creek bed, across the property and down to that drain. This image here gives you an idea of how robust the flow of water is down through our property. It is a steady flow, and it should be set in such a way that it opens up and creates a natural flow instead of what's happening now, which is really kind of a mess. If you look at the way the creek comes down on the left side of the frame, and then you look on the right, you see those darker areas of grass there, and then the lighter areas. The lighter areas are super saturated. If we remove that area there and create the pond or catch basin there and leave the creek all the way down here, that will free up all of this other property of any water problems whatsoever, including all the way down to the studio. Okay, this is the little path on the hillside that I'm walking on now. Going back towards the area where the marsh grass is and where the water is flowing most freely. As you can hear on the path, we're getting a lot of water flow already. And here's the uphill part of the creek, right there. That's about 4 feet wide at this point, and you see it's a gentle but steady flow of water that goes under the walkway and then out the other side to a very large pipe, which is pouring the water down onto our property. Right there. As you can see, that's a very hearty flow of water. And you can also see how the marsh grass, that invasive species, has cut off all the light and oxygen back to this part. It's also pulling the oxygen out of the earth so that creatures can't live there, and it makes a stagnant pond for the breeding of mosquitoes and that sort of thing. That has to be cleared out. You can see the grasses are all the way down the path. And here we are coming out the other side of the path. This is a lovely nature walk. It'd be a beautiful place to have a bench in here. There's no bugs to speak of. It's really very gentle and gracious. And now we're back out onto the field. And we can see that in that very small space, all of the microenvironments that are available, and how this is just a wonderland for ecology and nature. As soon as we get rid of those invasive species, put in a natural flow of water, this area will function at a very high natural level. Okay, I'm back at the front of the gallery. There's that Winnebago that's going. This is the area where there'll be the catch basin here. Right here. It'll be about 4 feet deep. We'll sink this pipe, which goes underneath my car and then down the other side, about another 3 feet deeper. And we're going to dig a trench along this wall. This continues out the back to that marsh grass. But this will be sloped down in this direction. The other way will be sloped backwards into the other direction, so kind of a V-shaped. And this will catch all the water from this side and eliminate water coming up to the side of the building and causing damage like this. This will be a nice gravel path here now. Alright? I think we got a good plan. And there's the rest of the property.